Alright, hey guys, so today we're going to go over synthetic division. I'll try to make it as fast as possible. But in general, this isn't too hard once you get the hang of it. But our first step in synthetic division is kind of making this long L-shaped table. And what we put in the top part of our table is the coefficients of the terms in the numerator. So what I mean by that is, what's the coefficient of x cubed? 1. The coefficient of 5x squared is 5. The coefficient of negative 3x is negative 3. And then we just put the constant, 4. Okay. Next step, we always put a 0 here. For every single synthetic division problem, no matter how hard or how easy, there's always going to be a 0 here. Now, what we put out here, right here, is the opposite of the constant in the denominator. So what does that mean? So plus 3, the opposite is negative 3. Or you can think about it like x plus 3 equals 0. Set the denominator equals 0 to 0. X equals negative 3. Boom, we have our negative 3. Goes out there. Let me erase this red circle. So negative 3 goes out here. Now, this is a very important, this is like the main thing you need to remember. Add down, multiply across. That's all you really need to know. Okay? Everything else is simple. So add down. So 1 plus 0 is 1. Okay? Negative, now we multiply. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Okay? So negative 3 plus negative 6 is negative 9. Negative 3 times negative 9 is 27, and 4 plus 27 is 31. Now, this is an important thing also. This last column that we get, this is our remainder. Okay? Our remainder. Now, if you're thinking, okay, 1, 2, negative 9, 3, or 31, what does this even mean? That's a good question. So, I want you to remember, remainder, then to the next left of it is the constant, and then after that is the x term, and after that is the x squared term for every single synthetic division problem. Okay? So let me erase this. Right, just remember, add, down, multiply, across. Okay, so these answers, this 1, 2, negative 9, that's just our coefficients of the terms in our answer. So 1x squared is just x squared plus 2x minus 9. Now we have this remainder of 31. We could write it like remainder 31, but no teacher, at least no teacher I've had, would accept that. So we're going to write it as plus 31 over the original thing we divided by, x plus 3. You might be thinking, okay, how did I get 31 over x plus 3? Okay, good question. If I have, let's say, 28 over 9, that's 327 remainder 1, okay? So do you agree with me that my answer is 3 plus the remainder over that thing that we divided it by, over 9, right? So if I do this out, it'll be 27 over 9 plus 1 over 9 equals 28 over 9, which is exactly that. So that's where I got 31 over x plus 3, and that's my answer. So it's not so hard, okay? So now let's move on to our next question. 2x cubed minus 5x squared minus x plus 3. Oops. I underlined this in red because it's the same denominator as our last one. Okay. So make sure you make our L table. We'll walk through this one together. So our coefficients of our terms in the numerator is 2, and then negative 5, negative 1, and our constant 3. What do we put here? We put a big 0. And then what do we put out here? Well, we put the opposite of the constant in the denominator, or just x plus 3 equals 0, x equals negative 3. So negative 3 out here. Okay, so negative 3 out there. Now, remember, add down, multiply across. So 2 plus 0 is 2. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Negative 5 plus negative 6 is negative 11. Negative 3 times negative 11 is 33. Negative 1 plus 33 is 32. Negative 3 times 32 is negative 96. And 3 minus 96 is negative 93. Okay. And then make sure you remember to label this last column as our remainder. And okay, this is our constant. It's kind of weird because we go right to left when you're labeling this. You don't have to do this, but in the beginning it's a little bit easier. X squared. Okay? So now we have our answer, 2x squared minus 11x plus 32. But now we have a remainder of negative 93, so plus negative 93 over x plus 3. And boom, that is my answer. Okay, last one. Let's move on to the next one. This one you guys try to solve by yourself, and then we'll walk through it. So pause the video if you need. Okay, so again, first step, make our L shape. And let me just move this to the left a little bit so we have a little bit more room. So we put our coefficients of the terms in the numerator. So 2, negative 5, negative 8, 15. Okay, but there's also another case, I guess you could say, that I want to point out. What if you had 2x cubed minus 8x plus 15? Okay, it's the same exact setup, right? 2, okay, but I'm missing an x squared term here. So I just put a 0, right? Because 0 times x squared is 0, so it doesn't really make a difference. And then negative 8 and 15, right? It's very important that you put the 0 here. You can't just not put it out and it's right 2, negative 8, 15. No, you have to put the 0 there no matter what. So if you're missing a term, like if it's x squared, right here we're missing x squared, you have to put 0 as a coefficient, okay? Never ever just skip it, okay? That's important too. All right, but we don't have to worry about that for this problem. So again, what do we put down here? We put a big 0. X minus 3. Okay, this is a very similar denominator. So what do? X minus 3 equals 0. X equals 3. So that means out here is 3. Now the same thing. We add down and multiply across. 2 plus 0 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Negative 5 plus 6 is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And 15 minus 15 is 0. Great. So make this last column our remainder. And then red, this is our constant, our x term, and our x squared term. So remember, right to the left of the remainder is constant and then goes from x, x squared, x cubed, x fourth, etc. Okay? So now we have our answer. So 2x squared plus x minus 5. And our remainder is 0, which means this divides perfectly into that. So that's just our answer. You could write plus 0, but I mean, that's not really necessary. But yeah, so 2x squared plus x minus 5, and that's our answer. So the main thing you need to remember is you have to make your little L table. Don't skip coefficients of missing terms. Right, so that's what I was talking about, the x squared. You have to write that 0 there. Okay? That's like number 2 most important. The number 1 most important, add down. Like, I can't say that enough. A lot of people multiply down, add across. No, add down, multiply across. That's all you have to remember. But other than that, synthetic division is pretty easy. It's just adding and subtracting and multiplying. Okay? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, leave a like. In the comments, let me know what kind of videos you want to see next and what I can do to improve the videos. And if there's any math questions or any math topics in general you're struggling with, let me know. I'll try to make a video on those. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.